Microsoft has done a fantastic job both pre-launch and post-launch with explaining the Xbox One X, and this goes more along with lines of that. They've done a really good job of explaining how the Xbox One works here, and the interviews that they've done, they've really come across as very accessible and very open and honest with people. That way, you know, it doesn't seem like they're trying to hide things. And I like the transparency from Xbox. You know, a lot of people thought it was crazy when they announced two consoles at the same event at E3 a year and a half ago, but now we know that that was actually a very smart plan, and it's really paying off for him. What's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you guys for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. So, Albert Pinello, the guy's been in the news a lot lately, talking to different outlets about the games and things like that. And he was asked a question, how are you working to court more developers to further enhance their games using the power of the Xbox One X? Which is a very important question if you think about it, because a lot of the games that have been enhanced on the X have been older games. So it would stand to question, you know, how did Microsoft sway these people, these developers, to do it? And he says it right here. We announced Project Scorpio at E3 2016, and people were surprised that we announced an Xbox One S at the beginning of the show, then a new console at the end of the show. We actually had two new consoles that we were doing, because on top of the Xbox One X, we had our development kit, which was designed to be the world's greatest development kit. The numbers, the specs of the console, when you talk about 6 teraflops and 12 gigs of GDDR5 memory, all those performance specs, those are there for a reason. What was really interesting about the development of the Xbox One X is that in typical console generations, you were just starting over and you have new specs and you're just throwing them out in the world and saying, please build the best games you can with these specs. In this case, in our case, we took the existing engines that we had and we run hundreds of thousands of simulations run specifically to figure out what it's going to take to get 4K and 4K textures with this engine running. Every number in the box was specifically designed to do exactly what we said it was going to do. That makes this a very interesting development from a hardware perspective. We made the box from the get-go to have a performance and to have a dev kit to make it easy for developers to enhance their games, and I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing so much support so quickly for a product. So I think he hits the nail on the head right here, right? Even though they were they could have very easily just been like, hey, we're announcing the Xbox One S, and they probably would have sold a lot more S's had they not announced the Scorpio as well, because I know people that had a fat Xbox One and they waited for the X, right? So there are people like me who bought the S and the X, you know, and I think that it would have been a bit misleading, and people probably would have really hated on Microsoft if they would have done that, you know what I mean? Like, just not announced it. I think that would have been a really crummy kind of move on their part, so I'm glad that they did. And they said, we've seen other platform holders launch more powerful versions of their console or handhelds, and certain games didn't run as well as the original version. Do you think we'll see cases where a game is deployed primary for the Xbox One X and the less powerful console will suffer? And he said, this is what Albert Pinello had to say. I don't see that as being a challenge that we're going to face. It wasn't how we designed the console. Games are going to run great on the S, and they're going to run better on the X. This is a question I get a lot, and I also like to talk about the modern game development, but also how we built the console. The Xbox One and Xbox One S are the same console in many ways. It is just a more powerful version of the other console. Game developers these days are building their game engines inherently on a scalable PC, but if you take consoles out of it, PC have a far bigger scale in their bottom end to their top end than the S and the Xbox One X. So modern game developers already takes this performance scale into consideration. So yeah, that's another great point, right? A lot of people are concerned about is the S going to suffer? I don't think it suffers. For me personally, after playing the X, I can't really go back to the S, but that's just because, you know, I went all in on the 4K TV, and it's like once you see that with the HDR and stuff, I just can't really go back. The other stuff just seems very blurry, or just not as crisp, not as clear. There's usually some kind of slight issues and things like that. A lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't even have noticed if you hadn't played that game on the X as well. So I will link this in the description. Let me know what you guys think. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. As always, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day and a fantastic rest of your weekend. Rack 'em up. Crapgamer out.